I am live, it says. I don't know why I can't tell when I'm live here. This is a little embarrassing. Because I have like, okay, there we go. How's everybody doing? Now where am I supposed to see my chat? Let's see here. Okay, there we go. We got the stream yard working this time, y'all. Last time I was on OBS. Now I'm on StreamYard. I think still trying to find out which one of these is going to be the best streaming service. So just wanted to hop on real quick and get a quick reaction to Miss Bumpus's live stream. So let's see here. How many people do we have here on the chat? I guess we can just go ahead and get started. Was everybody able to take a look at Miss Bumpus's live stream that she did? She just wrapped it up a few minutes ago. If not, I'm just going to go ahead and give you all a quick recap and talk about a few things. First of all, definitely very appreciative to Miss Bumpus for doing that. She seems like a consummate professional. Very proud to see a successful young lady doing her thing. She brought up a few people. So in case you did not see it, she brought up Mr. Melnick. Mr. Melnick came on the stream to show everybody that he is, and Mrs. Bumpus are cool, that they're not beefing, that they don't have any problems. She brought up Seti Nash, I think that's his name. He said a few words. She brought up Woody. Woody came on. Woody didn't say very much. Okay, so if you were hoping to get some information from Woody, you would have been a bit disappointed because Woody barely said anything. The most interesting thing about Woody coming on was that Woody, the most interesting thing to me, because, you know, I, like many people on the stream, I'm sitting here waiting for the transcript conversation. And I don't know, maybe this is much ado about nothing, because Ms. Bumpus asked Woody, so Woody, was the transcript complete? And Woody said, no, or something like that, okay? Just trying to represent what Woody said. He said very little, but he definitely indicated that the transcript was not complete. But as Ms. Bumpus continued to speak, okay, she reiterated multiple times over and over and over again that there was nothing of substance left out of the transcript. And I was following along in the chat, and I noticed a lot of people kept asking questions about the transcript. I mean, it was a very common question that people kept asking. I don't know if those people got to the chat late, and so maybe they just hadn't seen earlier when she had touched on it. I don't know if people were just unsatisfied. I think some people were just unsatisfied with her answer. Maybe people were just waiting to hear like a bombshell. And she definitely did not drop any bombshells about the transcript, aside from the fact that when she asked Woody, was the transcript complete? He definitely indicated that it was not. But he didn't say in what way it wasn't. In fact, this is going off memory, so if I misquote him or misrepresent what he said, again, this is going off of memory. I think he at one point said, you know, they're trying to lock me up. So Woody's like, look, I'm not about to go into detail about anything. But he did indicate the transcript wasn't complete. So she brought up Woody. She brought up Cat Not Williams, who acted, I guess, as like her kind of co-host and moderator for much of the meeting. She brought up what's his name? Another lawyer, somebody. I don't know if we just don't have anybody in the chat, but she brought up another guy who's a lawyer. He didn't say a whole lot. He actually said that he wasn't going to say a whole lot, so he kind of just played it reserved. But he was also on the panel. So I wanted to ask y'all, you know, how did y'all feel about everything? I mean, I think Miss Bumpus, she's just getting started on YouTube, just like I am. I think she was kind of trying to feel her way through the conversation. And I also think my impression of it was, one, she has a duty to her clients. And with Woody being a former client, there were certain things that she just was not going to say. And we all have to respect that. Also, with there being a transcript out there, and with her, it's basically a transcript about her job that she did for Woody. In other words, her job, there's a representation of her. There's a representation of her in a professional capacity on this transcript. And I definitely think, and understandably so, she had an interest in representing herself in the best light possible and trying to interpret what everybody has seen in the transcript. She had a vested interest in representing that in the best light possible, which again is very understandable. Blue Sky says no new news. She was reserved, and understandably so. I think that might be what I'm saying. I think I'm saying right now that she was reserved, and understandably so. One, Woody is her previous client, but she has a professional duty to him. Two, she is interpreting her professional, the way that she comported herself in a professional capacity. She's interpreting that for us, right? And so she can't just get on there. She can't bash people who some of y'all wanted her to bash. You know, people wanted her to bash Love. People wanted her to maybe bash Hilton. She can't do that. And she said as much. And I mean, of course she can't, right? Of course she's not going to get on there as a person who works with them in some way, even if it's just trying to get her clients a certain type of, whether it be a deal, whether it be whatever. She's not going to get on there and bash people. So we shouldn't expect that. But you know what I think, y'all, and this is not a criticism. I'm definitely in no position to criticize. One thing I felt, though, watching was that if there was a lack of something, it was just, you know, in the content that I've made, it seems like the people have a certain kind of interest in this case. And I don't know if Miss Bumpus just wasn't going to go there. She even said multiple times that she wants to kind of one and done this. Look, I'm going to hop on. I'll talk about this case. Maybe I'll talk about it a few more times and then I'm done. Like, so she doesn't want to be known for this. So I think that there's like the people wanted something. You know, she had 3,500 people tuned in. I think that the people just wanted her to give them something. And I think from her perspective, it was like, look, I'm a professional. I have certain limitations. I'll give you a little something. I'll give you as much as I can give you. Let me get this off me. I'll give you as much as I can give you. But she wasn't about to go down the rabbit hole that a lot of people wanted her to go down. So there were a lot of questions. So for example, going back to the transcript, like we produced a video, we put out a video today on the transcript, right? And I'm on this video ranting. I'm on a rant, like a true rant about, you know, what about the security thing? What was this? Like I'm on this rant, right? From my previous live, which was my first live, by the way. So we on live number 2 now. So I'm ranting. Somebody in the comments even said, dude, how many times are you going to say it? I'm like, I'm going to say it 1,000,000 times. Like I wanted to say it 1,000,000 times. I didn't quite get to 1,000,000, but I'm asking about the security thing. Right. And so thankfully somebody in the chat actually did say to her, hey, what about the security thing? She's like, oh yeah, I was scared. I thought they were coming for me, if I remember correctly. But she did say she was like alarmed, but that was it. And it's like, oh, so it kind of left you hanging, right? So again, was this one of those scenarios where, so I feel like the people didn't have a representation, like somebody to say, okay, scared about what? Like, okay, so what happened? Did Glanville come back? Did he explain it? Did he, did anybody say anything? Did you get? It was just like, oh yeah, that was scary. I thought they were coming for me. All right, moving on to the next topic. So I felt like some of the questions, some of the follow-up questions, some of the follow-up conversation that would have made a lot of sense did not happen. But again, was that just as a result of maybe her not wanting to go into certain things due to professional responsibility? Maybe her seeing it as inappropriate. I'm not sure. Another question that we did get answered about the transcript in particular was, so on my last stream I asked, I said, is everything, this is a question even in the chat. If y'all look at the video from today, there's a question that I asked in the chat. Is everything that's said supposed to go in a transcript, like regardless if it has to do with the matter at hand, regardless if somebody just coughs and says, excuse me, regardless if somebody sneezes and somebody else says, God bless you, is everything going on a transcript or only relevant information? And I think Ms. Bumpus said today, only relevant information is going on a transcript. So anything that is off the topic is going to be off the record. So maybe this security thing, even though the fact that the security thing happened is on the transcript, maybe any additional conversation about it was just something that would have been considered off the record and maybe shouldn't have gone on the transcript for that reason. I have a question for y'all. Let's see here. Blue Skies, are lawyers supposed to talk to their client in a judge's chambers? I don't think there's a problem with that, as long as, again, in this, so the issue with this kind of meeting is that, okay, I know I interrupt myself a lot, y'all. I'm working on it. The issue with this meeting is this ex parte. Okay, ex parte means that it's ex parte. There's one part of the trial, if you will, of the legal case that's missing, that's not there. So in this case, the defense was not represented, and that's what Brian, y'all see, look, I got his name right this time. That's what Brian Steele was complaining about in court. Y'all did this without us being there, without representation. Okay, so Blue Skies, your question is, are lawyers supposed to talk to their client in the judge's chambers? It is not a problem. If you're talking to your own client, you can talk to your own client anywhere. You can talk to your own client anywhere you want. You can't talk to somebody else's client. Okay, you're not just at liberty to talk to somebody else's client as a lawyer when you know they're represented by another lawyer. So that is a limitation, no matter where you talk to them. So I don't think the judge's chambers part of that is the key question. The issue with this whole thing is that there was a meeting about it. If you watch our video, it's definitely the live, you will see, or if you watch the video about Glanville's perspective, the issue with this meeting is that the defense is claiming that this was a substantial step or a substantial part of the trial. Okay, it was important. It was essential. It was something that if we're not there, we could lose. Just because we're not there, just because we're not participating, just because we're not included, that very fact of not being included could lead to us losing. So if you look at the Adams case, which we talked about on our previous live as well, the Adams case, we have some people who were convicted of crimes and they appealed only because they say, hey, there was this ex parte meeting. So they're basically saying in the Adams case, we weren't there and that's why we lost. We weren't there in this ex parte meeting and we lost because of that. Okay, so Blue Skies, that is the issue. The issue is not that she spoke to her client in the judge's chamber. She can speak to her client wherever she wants. Okay. Josiah Drake, thank you for the super chat. Are they all in it for clout? No. When you say that, who are we talking about? I felt Miss Bumpus represented herself well. Okay. She seemed like a very sincere person. You know what it is? This is the thing. I think Miss Bumpus has received criticism. And I think that she wanted to clear her name. That's the feeling I got. So I'm not speaking for her. But my feeling was like, okay, she's doing this live. She wants to introduce herself. She has a moment of notoriety in the public eye. So she's like, okay, I'm going to create a YouTube channel. I'm going to get out here. I'll start off talking about this case. I'll clear up misconceptions that people might have about me. because people are saying that I hung Woody out to dry. Oh, I hung Woody out to dry. People are saying that, why didn't I step up for him? People are saying, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? So she's taking this opportunity to say, look, this is the position I was in. I was caught off guard. I was stressed out, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so that's my take. So I don't know as far as her being in it for clout. I mean, I think she's an attorney. She was doing a favor for a colleague, and she got caught up. Truth. Woody had a lawyer, and the prosecutors knew this. Why were they even talking to him? That's the type of question. Again, this is the issue with the stream. The issue with the stream is you had a lawyer who's Miss Bumpus. You had a lawyer. Y'all remind me of the name of the young man who was on there, because I want to definitely shout him out. I forget his name. You had another lawyer on there, and I'm not sure if Katnot Williams is a lawyer, but she definitely knows the legal jargon, etc. She seems to be well prepared in that sense. So I feel like they just didn't have a representative of the people. I mean, that's kind of, it's kind of a cliche term, but I feel like they didn't just have a regular person on there. So people were like saying this sort of thing, like you're asking right now, Truth. Hey, this is a normal question that a lawyer might not even think to ask, because they have been dealing with the law for so long that it might just not come up to them that, oh, regular people might not notice. Why were they even talking to him? I had the same question, because if you notice on the transcript, Miss Love says, oh, Woody is down there with Miss Hilton, or she seems to insinuate when it's Miss Love's time, the first part of the transcript when Miss Love is talking, she seems to insinuate that Woody is talking to Miss Hilton right now. So let's go get both of them. And so you do have that question of, should she even be talking to him if she thinks Mr. Melnick represents him? Should she even be talking to him without Mr. Melnick present? That's a legit question. I don't know the answer to that question. That would be a question. Probably for Mr. Melnick, honestly, more than anybody. But definitely a question for Miss Bumpus as well, because she's the one that showed up. Thank you, Blue Skies. So what I'm saying now, and I'm not trying to complain, y'all, but I do feel like having kind of like the common man type of person up on the stage to ask these kinds of questions would have made a lot of sense. Another question that I had, and maybe, one of them will see this stream and maybe somebody will answer. Did Miss Bumpus file a recusal motion against Glanville? I seem to remember that she filed a recusal motion against Glanville. If she did, I don't remember them bringing that up at all on the stream. And I mean, I believe she filed a recusal motion against Glanville. Is she going to be a witness in his recusal motion? What can she say about that? I don't remember her talking very much at all about the recusal situation. She talked about Brian Steele. She talked about what he said, but I don't remember, and I did step away for a few minutes. I don't remember her talking specifically about the recusal motions and what might happen. She did, but it was only for her show cause. Right. So what I'm really getting at is that Rosie or Rossi. What I'm getting at is I think she filed a recusal motion. Again, I could be wrong about that. But isn't this whole thing really about the recusal motion, y'all? I mean, this whole ex parte, let me not say the only reason, but yeah, the only reason that Miss Bumpus blew up, because Miss Bumpus didn't get into this to blow up, okay? I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it. I wish her the best. I hope to meet her. She seems cool. She seems like the type of person I want to network with. So I'm not throwing any shade on her name. Don't get me wrong. But the reason she blew up is because the whole ex parte thing turned into a recusal thing. That's what happened. That's what put her name on the map with this case. If it was up to her, she would have just gone in there, gotten Woody to sign this paper, and she would have been out. That was what she was in it for. But it blew up, right? So the recusal thing is the thing. The ex parte leading into the recusal is the thing. So I feel like it would have definitely behooved everybody to get some more information about the recusal thing. One, did Ms. Bumpus file a recusal motion? If so, can she talk about it? I mean, I think she could at least discuss what was said in the recusal motion, right? Because maybe she wouldn't want to talk about certain things, but if she wrote something in the motion, presumably she could discuss those things and her reasoning for those things. So those are a couple of things that, you know, that I was hoping to get a little bit more information about. Also, I'm going to come back to the immunity question. Let me take a look at the chats. CJ says, people in general think all lawyers have endless terabytes of case law, statutes, and guidelines embedded in their minds. She was in there to stand in. Yes. No, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. She wasn't. That was another thing that I pointed out in our video. Okay. I pointed out that Ms. Bumpus had said that she had watched as much as she could of something, but she never actually said what she had watched or why. If she was going in there with the intention of just getting Woody to sign this paper, has she prepared just in case? You know, maybe that's kind of a not a very important point, but it goes to CJ's comment here of, you know, she didn't necessarily go in there prepared for what was about to unfold. And I totally agree with you. Even if she would have been prepared in some sense from having practice, she expressed that she didn't know. She didn't even know when they called her into the meeting. She said she didn't even know that the ex parte meeting was going to happen. She just thought she was going to talk to Woody. So obviously she was not prepared for that. Truth says Glanville knew attorney Melnick was his attorney. Glanville didn't say nothing when Hilton said love, you remember what DA Love said to you earlier. Judge should have questioned that, like, why? Again, this is why I am saying that we needed somebody on the panel to ask the people's questions. So it's just, I kind of feel like, you know, I'm kind of like in between lawyer and regular person, right? Because I'm not a lawyer, but I did go to law school and I've been working in the legal field for 6 years. So I'm not high and mighty. I'm not been there, done that. I still have a lot of questions. I still have a lot of questions about how things actually work, but I feel like I've learned enough to ask some of the questions. So it would have been nice to have, I think Seti did. He was kind of like the everyday man, but I'm not sure he was asking the questions. You know what I mean? So another question I want to point out real quick, and this did come up. Okay. Somebody criticized me today for interrupting myself, but I'm trying to acknowledge people's comments. Truth. Yes, Kayla did. Yes, Kayla filed a recusal. I would have liked for somebody to talk to about that. Like, isn't that what everybody is really concerned with? That the thing everybody's really concerned with is the ex parte meeting. Okay, she said the transcript. We got the transcript. She said nothing of substance was missing. I don't question that, okay? She said it. I believe it. So something's missing, but the things that are missing, according to her, are off the record, like small talk, etc. Fine. We have to accept that, right? There's no reason we should question her about it. People continue to question her about that the whole stream. But I think, you know, some people might have showed up late. Some people are just never going to take what she says as an answer. I totally accept that, okay? So that's the first thing. The transcript is missing some things, but nothing of substance. Miss Bumpus was there from the beginning till the end. She was there for all parts of that. So she says that the transcript is not missing anything of substance. Fine. But she filed a recusal motion against Glanville, according to Truth. So we're just gonna go with that. I believe she did. I'm taking it on Truth. You're telling the truth, right? So I'm gonna trust you. So shouldn't the conversation have necessarily, like absolutely without a doubt, have gone in the direction of, hey, let's talk about this Glanville recusal thing? Because that literally is the whole story. If Brian Steele doesn't get up and confront Glanville in court, none of this happens. We're not here talking about this. This whole thing made national news because Brian Steele got up and confronted Glanville in court. That's why this thing made national news. And so what is the outcome of that? Everybody's saying, let's get rid of Glanville. Let's get rid of Glanville. Let's get rid of Glanville. Right? Let's get rid of Glanville because of this ex parte meeting. Well, if Ms. Bumpus filed a petition to get rid of Glanville, why didn't they talk about that on her stream? That's the whole story. I mean, it's not the whole story, but it's a significant part of the story. So hopefully y'all agree with me on that. Star saying something about Seti. I don't know Seti, so I'm not gonna comment on him. I just wanted to say that he kind of brought the everyday person vibe to the stream. So I don't know him. I don't want to comment on him. Blue Skies, do you think this trial will really continue in all this mess? Blue Skies, I said on my stream, I did a stream yesterday, and I predicted Glanville will continue. And I'm thinking about doing a video on that. I just think that it's going to be like, the dislike ratio, I feel like is going to be crazy. I'm scared to do it. I'll be honest with you, But I predicted yesterday that Glanville is going to continue. I'm going to tell you why. Oh, and also I might want to modify that. Because of the immunity thing is one of the reasons I might want to modify my prediction. But what I said yesterday on stream was, this. Glanville is going to, as of now, okay, Glanville is going to have a hearing with one of his peers. Her name is Miss Krause. I think it might have a different pronunciation, but, so if I'm mispronouncing it, I'm sorry. Her name is Miss Krause. She is on the court with Glanville. But that's not the reason that I think he's gonna get off, or he's not gonna be removed, because I do believe judges have enough neutrality typically to look at something neutrally. That's their job. So I'm gonna, we have to give her that credit. But I think that the burden of proof is going to be on the person, on the party, on the entity, on the organization, on whoever's trying to take him off. I think they're going to have to prove he should go. Now, what is the standard? You know what? Let's take a look, y'all. Let's take a look. Standard, I'm going to look this up. Standard for recusing a judge in Georgia. We're going to find out what is the standard for recusing a judge. I don't want to spend too much time looking at this, but I'm going to say I would imagine the standard is going to be, the burden of proof has to be on the party looking to have the judge taken off the case, period. It can't be that you make the accusation, now the burden of proof is on the judge to prove that he or she should continue. That wouldn't make sense, in my opinion. So we have somebody who is a judge who is going to be judging Glanville. She has been presumably through the ups and downs and the tension, the stress of being a judge herself. She may have faced recusal. If not a hearing, she has probably faced recusal requests, petitions, etc. herself, probably, right? Who knows? If not, she's well familiar with them. I equated it yesterday to like an umpire or a referee at a basketball game. They've all had people say that's a bad call. They've all had people jump up and down. They've all had the media say that they shouldn't have done this or that. But you know who will most understand them? Other referees and other umpires who have also had to make the call in the big game, who have also been criticized. That's the person you want judging you if you are a referee and people are saying you just made a bad call. Who is the best person to judge you? Another referee who's also been criticized. They're going to be the person that understands you more than anybody. Right or wrong? Okay, Truth says, oh, he's being removed. Georgia Supreme Court. No. Okay, so I'm not talking about the Supreme Court. I'm not talking about that. Okay, I'm just talking about this. I'm talking about this recusal hearing that's coming up with Judge Krause. Supreme Court, that's a whole nother ball of wax. The Georgia Supreme Court, if we get to that point, I will make another prediction. My prediction is my only prediction. So let this be clear. I'm not saying eventually. I'm talking about with his recusal hearing that's coming up. Okay, so I'm not making some kind of like ultimate what will happen in the long run type of prediction. True, Glanville has been recused. Another judge has stepped up. However, Weinstein filed a motion to have no Fulton County judges. When I say recused, I'm talking about taken off of the case. Glanville is no longer the judge for this case. That's what I'm referring to. And I'm not talking about the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court rejected this. Okay, they declined to step into this at this point. And it is, and my understanding is this whole situation has been referred to Judge Krause, who is going to be the person who is going to conduct this recusal hearing for Glanville. Okay, so I am saying that my prediction is that Glanville will survive this round. I'm not talking about any future rounds with appeals or with Supreme Court. Why? Again, my analogy is the umpire or the ref. If you are an umpire or a ref and everybody is upset with you for making a bad call, and the NBA is going to have a hearing as to whether you should be taken out of the big game, who do you most want to judge you? Another umpire, like say a retired umpire or ref, or another current referee who's also been criticized, who's also faced scrutiny? That's who you want judging you. That's the best person to get to judge you because they know what you're going through. And they can say, would I want somebody removing me? That time that they said I made the bad call, did I want them to kick me off the big game? No, I didn't. So that's one. Okay, that's one. Two, I looked at, if you watch Glanville's speech in his last hearing, and again, we have a video on this, he lays out a case that I think a judge, if they are so inclined, I believe that a judge could say, okay, I accept that. In other words, Glanville laid out, we pointed out at least three things that Glanville laid out to his defense. He said, one, it's not about what you want, it's the case law. Okay, that's what Lewis, that's what I'm about to talk about right now. One, Glanville's, oh, by the way, y'all, and I know I'm interrupting myself, so whoever has a problem with that, forgive me. I'm not defending Glanville, y'all. I'm not saying I don't think he should go. That's one thing that's difficult on these streams and on these videos to like get people to understand. They think that if you say somebody's gonna survive, that means you want them to survive. No, I'm not saying what I want. I'm not saying what I don't want. I'm saying what I think is going to happen. So imagine you have money, you're about to place a bet. Are you going to bet on what you want to happen, or are you going to bet on what you think is going to happen? Sometimes what you think is going to happen might not be the thing that you want to happen, but you still are more intelligent if you put your money on the thing you think is coming up. I hesitate to get involved in this, but we have a presidential election coming up. Some people want Trump, some people want Biden. Look, you bet your money on the person you think is going to win. You cast your vote for the person you want to win, but you put your money, if you had to bet, it wouldn't make sense to bet for the person who you think is going to lose, regardless who you would want to win. So what I'm saying is not that I want Glanville to survive. I'm saying I think he's going to survive, and I'm giving you the reasons. Okay? So I told you, one, he's going to be judged by somebody who's probably been through it herself. That is the best person in this whole universe to judge you, is somebody who goes through the same thing you go through and who's been through the same thing you've been through. One. Two, Glanville gave us 3 reasons why he should not go. He said that his actions did not prejudice one side or benefit the other side. I think that's his weakest argument. That's what we're going to talk about immunity in a moment. I really think Glanville's weakest argument is that he did not help or hurt one side. And I think if Glanville goes, that is going to be his undoing. Because it seems to me that the whole point of the meeting was to help the prosecution convince Woody to testify. Excuse me. It seems to me that his whole point of the meeting was to help the prosecution. Okay? So these are the kind of things that I would like for to have come up in Miss Bumpus's live, y'all. Miss Bumpus. What about Glanville said this, and this? You were in there. Did you get the feeling that he was trying to help the prosecution? You know, did you get the feeling that this was a meeting that was held about an emergency because they felt Woody's life was in danger? So, I mean, nobody really tied this whole thing back to the to the recusal hearing, which is what this entire fiasco is about right now. It really is about that. And I felt that on the stream, it wasn't tied back enough to that. I don't feel like that was talked about hardly at all. And I can't imagine how she was on stream for so long and somehow nobody brought it to, hey, this ex parte leading into the recusal. What about that? Okay. But back to the points. Glanville is going to say he did not benefit anybody. He didn't hurt anybody. He's going to also say that the defense's presence at the meeting would have been useless. He literally did say that in court. Okay. Or he alluded to it by citing a case in which the defense's presence was useless. So that's 2. And 3, he's going to say that it was an emergency. I think his strongest argument is that it was an emergency. His weakest argument is that he did not benefit the prosecution. Okay? The reason I feel like the reason I feel like it's his weakest argument that he did not benefit the prosecution is this. Y'all remember, this did come up actually in Miss Bumpus in her stream just a minute ago. Somebody brought up the fact that Miss Hilton said Woody had federal immunity. Now, Miss Bumpus did not in the transcript, and Miss Bumpus also did not on her stream address. It seems like she would have been taken aback, like, hold up. Y'all are the state. Y'all gave him state immunity. Okay, I got that. Because she's his legal counsel. She didn't have to prepare for this, I don't think, for this question I'm about to ask. Okay, so she has worked for the state before. She said she was a prosecutor. She understands we can give him immunity. Fine. But the state immunity doesn't protect him from federal charges. And Ms. Hilton said very clearly he has federal immunity. So I would think, and again, this is not a criticism, this is just an analysis, y'all. So I'm not throwing any kind of hate or shade. I would just think if I even not being a lawyer, if I'm in this meeting with the state people and they say he has federal immunity, I think my question would be like, whoa, how did y'all work that out? Y'all working with the feds now? Like, how did the federal government get involved in this whole thing? Okay, it was a hearing. Conditionally accepted says it was a hearing. Look, I'm going to use the terms interchangeably, so, forgive me, okay? I might say meeting, I might say hearing, whatever, all right? In fact, I don't know that was actually a hearing, but whatever. I allow me the leeway to use either term, please. All right. So they told Woody in this meeting hearing, okay, that he had federal immunity, and literally Judge Glanville didn't say, are you sure about that? Ms. Bumpus didn't say, huh? Woody didn't say, when did I get federal? No, literally nobody batted an eye to the idea. Okay, fine, conditionally accepted. Hearing, fine. I don't really think that's the most important point. Nobody batted an eye to the fact that Woody was promised federal immunity in this hearing. Okay? Nobody batted an eye to the fact that Woody was promised federal immunity in this hearing. And you know what? In my opinion, and I know Brian Steele, I would imagine I'm sure he's read the transcript. I would imagine it would be like, yo, did he really have federal immunity? Like, where did that come from? When did that happen? Because if you're promising him that in this meeting, and the judge is hearing you say this, and the judge is not, are you sure? Because the judge is there to try to advise Woody about his rights, the consequences of not testifying, etc. So conditionally accepted says maybe the feds granted it, but I doubt it. I think that the thing is there had to be some proof on the table for her to say that. Because if she said it with no proof, and you have to ask, is that true? Is it true? Because there was no federal representative noted as being there. Okay, so Lewis says she said the statute of limitations are up. So if you look at the stream that Ms. Bumpus just did with Cat Not Williams, Ms. Cat Not Williams pointed out that it seems like the Ms. Hilton either purposefully or accidentally confused statute of limitations with federal immunity, because she says you have federal immunity, and then she goes on to say that your statute of limitations is up on federal and your statute of limitations is up on state. If somebody could put me in the chat the name of the young man, the lawyer who was there, who was also commenting on this, I want to say his name. He also commented on that, like, does he actually have federal? Either way, Ms. Hilton absolutely did say it. So my question would be, again, this would be a question for Ms. Bumpus in a sense, because doesn't she have an active petition for Glanville's recusal out there? My question would be, okay, so if Ms. Hilton, when she said Woody has federal immunity, if that's not true and Judge Glanville doesn't ask for any proof, he doesn't ask for her to justify that. He just because Glanville is inserted in helping Hilton and Love convince Woody. So to me, it almost feels like Glanville has inserted himself in having to know that everything they say to Woody is true. Y'all agree with that? So it feels to me like if Glanville is going to be involved, he can't allow them to lie to Woody. He can't, as the judge, allow them to just say stuff. They have to say things that are true. And a very important claim is you have federal immunity for what you say on the stand. That is a huge claim. And nobody, even asks, is there paperwork about that? Or is there a federal representative here who can vouch that just literally nobody says anything? So maybe it was just a misspeak. You know, it does look like maybe Miss Hilton misspoke. She was talking about statute of limitations, but she said immunity. I don't know, but but with so many ears there, it would seem that somebody would have called that out to say, okay, can we get some clarification on this federal immunity thing? If I'm Mr. Steele, I'm looking at how I can use the fact that the prosecution told Woody in this meeting that he has federal immunity to testify against my client. I'm definitely looking at how I can use that in my recusal hearing against Glanville, because Glanville should have required some proof for such a claim to happen in his presence when he's having this ex parte meeting specifically to help the prosecution get this witness to testify against my client. Glanville can't just let them say stuff. If they're going to make that kind of claim that's inducing Woody to testify against my client, I'm going to need Glanville to step in and ask for some proof, especially because he doesn't think I need to be there. Because if I'm there, I'm asking for proof, right? RBKS. I thought once a witness was sworn in, no one can talk to him. Okay. We did a video on this, y'all. Okay. That is not correct. It is generally correct, but it's not absolutely correct. Glanville has found a case called Adams versus United States. Or is it United States versus Adams? We're just going to call it Adams for now. Okay. We went over this in my last video. My last live, I should say, which was yesterday. Glanville has found this case where the same thing happened. The judge, the prosecutor, and the witness had an ex parte meeting. And then in that case, the defendants got convicted, and they appealed to the appeals court. And they said, hey, appeals court, they had this ex parte meeting just like Woody. It was a witness, it was the prosecution, and it was the judge. The defense was not included. And so they appealed, and they said, hey, judge, you know, appeals court, help us out. That prejudiced our case. We lost because of that meeting. And the appeals court said, you know what? Nope. No reversible error was found. Even though there may be the appearance of impropriety, meaning it looks bad, the appeals court in Adams said, we're not going to overturn. We're not going to give you a new trial. It looks bad, but it's not a reversible error. So Glanville found that case. He included that case in his defense. So back to you, RBKS? Just the very fact that there's an ex parte meeting with the defense, the prosecution, and a witness, those facts in and of itself is not enough to say necessarily something went wrong. It might be enough to say if something looks like it went wrong, it's the appearance of impropriety, but it's not enough to certainly say something went wrong. And that's according to Adams, and Glanville has cited Adams in his defense. Okay. So Adams is and Adams is still good law from 1984 or something like that, but it's still good law. So that is a definitive case law based answer to your question. Is it definitely wrong? It's not. It might be wrong, but it's not definitely wrong, just based on the facts that the defense was not there, but the prosecution, the judge, and the witness were. With more facts, it might go. You know, you get more facts, you might be able to say yes, it was wrong, but just those facts is not enough. Let's see. Variant says Glanville is misusing that case law to cover up for himself. Perhaps that's what Ms. Krause is going to determine. Ms. Krause is going to determine is Glanville right? I think he's probably right as it relates to that case. I just think that the facts of his situation are going to be different enough that there's still a question about Glanville. Okay? So I think that the facts in Glanville's situation are different enough from Adams that there's still an additional question. Again, there was the promise of federal immunity with, as far as I can tell, no proof. That's a huge thing. The whole point of the witness, the whole point of calling the witness in was to get him to testify, but that is kind of similar to Adams, honestly. Okay? So I'm gonna try to tie all of this back to my title. Kayla Bumpus has spoken. Let's talk about it. First of all, I want to be thankful that Ms. Bumpus did her live. Very well spoken, very professional. I do think that there are questions that nobody asked or just did not get through the chat, and therefore she didn't answer those questions. Again, she did touch on the emergency meeting. She didn't say a lot about it, kind of left that. That was one of them things where she like, I was scared or nervous. And it's like, okay, so what happened? But she never actually said, what that was all about. She literally talked about it and didn't tell us anything besides how she felt for a split second. Conditionally accepted. She said she didn't know. Okay. So maybe she didn't know. Maybe that's why she didn't tell us, because maybe she didn't know. Okay. Another thing, again, she filed apparently an ex parte. She filed a recusal petition based on the ex parte meeting or something related to that against Glanville, and barely talked about that at all. I kind of feel like, that is the entire story. That's 70% of the story is the fact. I mean, the story was what happened between Brian Steele and Glanville in court. That was the story of the moment. Now the story is, will Glanville be removed? That's the story. LNS says Ms. Bumpus' motion is now moot because judge canceled the show cause hearing related to her motion for recusal. Let's just say let's say that is the case, okay? It does not take away the fact that people are interested in this right now and paying attention right now, because Glanville might have to go. I mean, not saying people haven't been watching this for months and years. Not saying nobody cares about what's going to happen, but I am saying that the topic of the day is Glanville's recusal. That's today's topic. So for her to not talk about that, it just feels like a missed opportunity, because she has something to say about it. If she filed a petition at all, whatever she said in her petition, she could talk about that on the stream. And that is the topic of the day. Okay? So overall, did anybody else, did we miss anything? Is there, I know Miss Bumpus, she seems to be over it. You know what I mean? She seems to be over it. She's like, I don't even want to talk about this anymore on stream. So she wants to be known for something else. Monica Mo Justice. Canceled is not usually language of a judge. They use terms like dismissed or with or without prejudice. I think what LNS is saying is that Glanville had a show cause on Miss Bumpus. Glanville canceled the show cause. So whatever kind of like issue Miss Bumpus would have had back at Glanville is now kind of annulled. It's kind of invalidated because his show cause is removed. LNS, correct me. It seems like that's what you're saying. But that's not even the point, because the recusal situation continues and Miss Bumpus has something to say about it. So that's really my point. My point is not so much is she still trying to get him recused. My point is that nobody asked her about that at all, or very little. You know, I'm not saying it didn't come up at all, but it wasn't a topic of conversation. But that is what everybody is concerned with right now. The judge knew the defendant's attorneys were present in the courtroom and still chose to hold an ex parte hearing in their chambers without notifying them. Okay, so Glanville, in his self-defense, he gave 2 reasons for that. He said it was an emergency. He mentioned Woody's safety. That was something also that came up in the live with Miss Bumpus, where people said, you know, they talked about Woody's safety, but again, very little. Miss Bumpus might not have had a lot to add about that because she just showed up that day. But she did mention, and Mr. Melnick actually came on, and he explained his FU comment. So y'all can go back and watch that. I'm not going to try to explain Mr. Melnick's FU comment, but he does come on and explain it. So back to what Truth was saying, the judge knew the defendant's attorney were present. So somebody might have gotten me kind of mixed up before. Glanville never says why he felt he needed to exclude the defense. He only gave reasons as to why excluding the defense was not wrong. Y'all have to really understand that nuance. Glanville never said, I excluded the defense for this reason, and that was the right thing to do. He does not say that. And it's very probable that in his hearing, he's not going to have to say that. All he's going to have to say is, I was not wrong in excluding the defense for these reasons. Do y'all see the difference? Do you see the difference between trying to justify you did the right thing and the different and trying to say I did not do anything wrong? It's a much lower burden to say I did not do something wrong than to say I did the right thing. Saying I did the right thing is a higher burden. It's a higher claim. It's a more difficult claim to convince somebody of. It's an easier claim to convince someone of when you say, the thing I did, it was not wrong. Okay? It's harder to get somebody to go along with the thing I did was right. So Glanville says, the rules allow me to do this under these circumstances. I felt these circumstances had obtained, so I did this thing. The recusal judge is not going to have to say, do I think he made the right decision? She's not going to have to say that. She's going to say, did he make an error? And that is not the same thing. Earth Angel, was he wrong in his reaction in his concerted effort to conceal them? Okay, that Glanville has a couple of flaws that could come back to bite him, and that's another big one. His after the fact conduct. His after the fact conduct is very suspicious. And I mentioned this before. His after the fact conduct is very suspicious. But Earth Angel, again, what is he going to say? I imagine he's going to say, if you look at his defense, his self-defense, he kept saying that in previous cases where the judges did not do anything wrong, mind you, he's not saying in previous cases where the judges made the right decision. He's not saying that. In previous cases where the judges didn't do anything wrong, they made a transcript available to the defense. And what was he doing at that very moment? Making a transcript available. So the judge was essentially saying, I didn't do anything wrong, even by hiding it, because after all, I intended to make a transcript available. And you know how you know that? Because I'm making it available right now. Okay? Conditionally accepted. She said related. Maybe you were speaking to somebody else. S Sonko 2K. they could say he is biased toward the prosecution and that would get him removed. Them just saying that is not enough. See, in this recusal hearing, I imagine, and I'm not sure about this, but if this recusal hearing is limited to this ex parte meeting, if it's limited to the ex parte meeting, again, there is case law to show that a judge may be permitted to have this type of ex parte meeting with the defense excluded under certain circumstances. That is why Glanville is trying to tie this back to Woody's safety or security. That's why Glanville is trying to tie this back to Woody's security, because in the Adams case, the defendant, the witness was worried about his safety and security. So that was one of the justifications for the ex parte meeting, not the defendant. The witness in the Adams case, the witness was concerned about his own security, and that was one of the justifications for the ex parte meeting. So Glanville is going to also, and he did. I'm only telling you what he's going to do because he's already done it. He in his speech, he said that Mr. Melnick had mentioned a threat to Woody. Glanville didn't even go that far. He said that Mr. Melnick had said something, but when you get the transcript, you see what that something is. Mr. Melnick has said that there's a threat to Woody. Blue skies, but they didn't talk about security. I think that's going to be, I would imagine Brian Steele's going to make that argument. When you look at the transcript, you see very little. And Glanville is going to say, but we did say something about security. So, that might come back down to a question of degree. It certainly is mentioned, but it's certainly not a significant topic of discussion. So is the security question or the security topic raised? Yes. Is there something said about it? Yes. Is there a discussion had about it? No. So again, that's going to come down to the judge to make that determination. It certainly does not look like that was the primary reason for that meeting, for that hearing. Before I get raked over the coals again. Woody wasn't worried about security. Glanville didn't address it in the meeting. Glanville didn't address it, but if you notice how Glanville phrased it when he gave his defense, he said the prosecutors had concerns about what Mr. Melnick said. So the prosecutors were the ones who were talking about Woody's security. So Glanville was allowing the prosecutors to talk about Woody's security. That's what he said in his defense. Okay, so he didn't say I had a concern, so I needed to address it. He said the prosecutors had a concern, and by insinuation, I gave them that opportunity to address it without the defense there. Now, you might start to ask, and somebody asked me this in the chat, like, are you saying that the defense was going to do this or that? I'm not saying anything. I have no idea what the nature of that threat was. I have no idea if there was a threat. If it was, I have no information about that. So I don't know. Glanville, but we have to try to figure out why would there being a threat to Woody justify Glanville's having this ex parte meeting. Presumably he thought, or the prosecution thought, or both thought that it might be from the defense. I don't know that. I mean, they didn't specify from where or anything. So I don't know. Let's see here. Jerome Street. Sad black people do dirt for us to power. I'm not sure what you're saying there. Earth Angel, he said you can get the transcript after this trial, then change his mind. Again, Ms. Bumpus was very adamant that the transcript had not been meaningfully or altered, redacted, changed, or anything. So we just have to believe her on that one. She did say that there was off-the-record conversation that was not included. I saw people asking Ms. Bumpus, like, hey, well, what kind of, if it's not included in the transcript, there's a reason, right? So I think she said it at some point, maybe she was just saying hello to people, small talk, that kind of thing. So I'm not going to question Ms. Bumpus on the transcript because again, she filed a petition to have Glanville removed. So it's in her interest to include all of the damaging information as long as it doesn't damage her client, right? So if there's something on the transcript that would hurt Glanville, as far as him staying on his trial, not personally, but as far that would hurt his ability to continue as a judge. And if she knows this, and she, it seems to me that she would have put that into her motion for his removal, her petition. Someone said variant, yes, but I don't see what variant said. So y'all, overall, I would say y'all go check it out. I don't think you're really gonna learn anything new on that. But but Ms. Bumpus is part of the saga, so I would say go give her a follow. Cat Williams. Nobody told me the name of the lawyer man. But when you watch the stream, give him a follow. Overall, again, I think some of our questions that we as the common folk are asking, they weren't answered, primarily having to do with the recusal hearing that's coming up and just any kind of information we can glean from that. Also, immunity, federal immunity, any kind of information we can glean from that. No real substantive discussion about that as far as does Woody actually have federal immunity. It seems like in that conversation they kind of just maybe thought maybe that was just a mistake that Ms. Hilton made. That's a pretty significant mistake if that's a mistake. Also, again, the recusal hearing. So I think that's going to be about it, y'all. I just want to do a quick reaction. Again, feel that Ms. Bumpus, at least she popped on here. She took some questions. She seemed to be in high spirits, seemed to be a very likable person. I did want to ask y'all before we go. Ms. Bumpus says she wants to talk about something else. Cat Williams says she wants to talk about something else. What else do y'all want to talk about? Because that was another question that they just didn't ask the people. They had 3,500 people on here, and they didn't think to ask, what do y'all want to talk about? So are there any other legal topics? Are there any other cases? Are there any other situations that are interesting to people? Like, I'm thinking about doing a Puffy video. Is the whole Puffy thing, has it blown over? Is it a wrap? Is it over for that? There was just another lawsuit filed against him within the past few days. It involves some more salacious details and accusations. Anybody interested in anything else? I'm gonna just hang out for a minute with y'all to hear if there's anything else that people are interested in hearing about. Let's see. Earth Angel, thank you for your kindness and having this great stream. Thank you for the kind words. Varian says, I think Kayla said Woody was worried, and then the state asked if he was worried about that. Then the judge said, bring him in. I could be wrong. Not sure. I'm not going to comment on that because though I did see the stream, I'm not entirely sure about that. Blue Skies, I think this case is the hot topic right now. This case is the hot topic. I really think this case is the hot topic, but I also think that Fonnie is the hot topic because people keep roping her back in. Like, for example, when they talked about the immunity for Woody, people were like, well, that has to come from the DA level. So Fonnie must have signed off on that. I think people are really they really have it out for her. They really have it out for Fonnie. Truth, were you answering about the baby Noah? Oh, yeah. So she did say Noah is related. Her godson, Noah is related. I was a little bit busy at that moment, so I didn't catch the exact relation, but her godson, Noah, is related to Young Thug. Somebody put in the chat exactly how they're related. I don't know. I didn't catch that. I don't want to misspeak because the moment I do, somebody's gonna, y'all in the chat, y'all are not easy. Jerome says dope. Hopefully you're talking about the job I'm doing because I'm trying over here, y'all. So anyway, y'all, definitely appreciate it. We'll be back. If y'all have any other topics, leave them in the chat of any of our videos. We have a video. I think we're going to create a membership. We have a video that we're working on that I think is going to be something special. It's going to be something a little bit different. We like trying to push the envelope a little, like we involved the AI voices a few days ago. I'm going to do a little bit more with those AI voices, y'all. So we have a couple of things up our sleeve for. So keep checking for the channel. And yeah, let's see. Variant says probably the Alec Baldwin case. Okay, I will note that. I will definitely make a note of that. So y'all, thank y'all. We will be back next time something interesting happens. And other than that, have a good evening. Jerome, thank you so much for the super stick. I really appreciate it. And we'll be back, y'all. Appreciate it. Can I go ahead and wrap it up now? Bye-bye.